Greetings, everybody. We've gathered around the table again today for another episode here. Today we are going to get into a trend in the knife world, but first, let's do our pocket dance. Dennis.
I am carrying the newly acquired SR2 from Lion Steel. It's the Mini. It's pretty fantastic. Paul's not the only one that can play the intro game. We're going to get on that bandwagon. So, Schliepner Steel, I'm going to tell people what I think about it, and I'll tell people. For sure.
So, let me know what you think of the grind.
The convex, I like convex. I do it with some of my pocket knives anyway. But anyway, Joe, what are you carrying?
Today, going back, trying to wave itself out of my pocket, is the 620. Used it.
Embrace the wave, man. Come on.
Oh, absolutely. Used it pretty heavily this weekend, doing a dump run with my dad. Took apart a trampoline and a couch, and the edge was still awesome afterwards. I love M390.
Understandable. It's pretty great.
The trampoline deserved it. Well,
don't they always?
They always.
I needed those springs.
And I got the 452.
The brightly colored.
We're gonna blingy some handles. Because Paul likes to blingy his handles.
I do that thing sometimes.
Yeah.
So, nice. It's a lot of knife.
It's all the knife. It's fantastic.
And then I played a bit of blingy the handles with my Crooked River. Got some Banksia pod resin scales that I did up in those.
Yep.
Fancy.
With the fancy blues and the greens.
Yep.
Yeah, worked out well.
It turned out very nice.
All right.
So Cleavers.
It's all about the trends.
Yep.
Where they started.
The trend is this. Everyone should get an old hickory cleaver. It's a beautiful trend. Jump on that trend.
$27 MSRP.
Yeah, it's a score. Yeah, for sure. End the video.
Cleavers over.
Credits.
Yeah. But yeah, Cleavers have been around forever. They are a wonderful food processing is the majority usage that they've been put to. Very classical school styling. Very much Bill the Butcher. But in case you don't want to be as scary as Bill the Butcher and walk around with a old school meat processing one, they have come out with options lately.
But do they all have the bubble blowing option?
No, not all of them do.
Okay.
That's the most important feature with any cleaver.
I now want a under the shoulder holster for this thing, just Bill the Butcher-esque.
Bill, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
That'd be fun.
I need it.
All right, so
Where do you want to start?
Well, keeping on kind of the traditional train, but getting out of the kitchen realm, little Japanese Kamitsune is the brand name Cleaver, and yes, as Joe just poked at there, I do need to rewrap the handle because the paracord snapped on that one there.
pointed it out, and this is, we've talked about what makes a cleaver, what doesn't make a cleaver. This one is getting into the just borderline blade shape of a cleaver. If you look at the old hickory that we had up here, and as far as the cleaver shape goes, guys can argue Warncliffe, but there's all sorts of vagaries when it comes to what makes a cleaver, right?
I would argue that it checks enough boxes to be a cleaver.
Yeah, kind of some of the qualifications that we figured out as what narrows down what is a cleaver. Height of the blade, and it being at least a third of the length, as Joe was figuring out there.
That's my main argument. Yeah.
Thickness is another. Yeah. Some weight to it is another good
thickness of the it needs to cleave.
Yeah, it has to be able to do that job in order to be considered a cleaver.
So,
and obviously, snub nose tip, something that's not going to get caught and snap or be
a piercing tip.
No.
And I mean, you could even theorize that it came from a bigger knife that had broken, and then they had just turned it into something else because steel was a resource at that point in time, right? So, and this one in particular is using blue steel, super blue, just normal blue?
Just normal blue.
What kind of blue are we working with here?
Blue 1, blue 2, super blue?
It's a pretty little knife.
Yeah.
It is. And I've seen Nigel do some pretty serious work with it.
Carving antler and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I have carved antler with that little guy.
Yeah, and you can buy a bunch of different blank shapes from this Kanasune company that come in deep belly ones and cleaver ones and spear pointy ones. And then Nigel did the really cool leather and black leather wrap that has a subpar paracord. But anyway.
Haters. Such haters.
Yeah, so
I'm kind of getting out of the kitchen realm, getting into the wood processing.
Well,
Or
the one thing I was going to mention as well when it comes to smaller ones is we've gone even smaller than that, and we've started to do like EDC sized cleavers, and I
like
don't
the
know,
little line
pocket
cutters.
cleavers,
yeah, and
Almost neck knife sized.
Yes.
whether it's Kydex, whether it's a leather pocket sheet that you're just slipping right in the pocket itself, it's become this huge trend of cleaver shaped blades.
Just want to mention, I believe the name Lime Cutter is actually specific to Stark knives.
I think it was, yeah.
I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people want their pocket cleavers. They seem to be selling very well.
It's a great little style, but yeah.
I agree.
But we can get away from that. We can go into the other trend that started, and that is things that are made for heavy duty.
Processing and
So
Wood cleavers.
25.5 ounces of awesome.
SE, the
Yep.
expat cleaver.
And to qualify for your major question there, it gets fancy bubbles.
Idaho shaped bubbles.
Right
It's
angle balls.
awesome.
Yep.
If you got foam in there, it could be Idaho shaped cubes of foam.
It's amazing.
pouring through.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Remember that when you're cleaning your SE, guys. Yeah.
Have some fun with your knives.
Caleb, especially. Yes, we got to give a shout out.
Yes.
I want to see a new hashtag on Instagram of people blowing their bubbles.
Knife bubbles.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Hashtag knife bubbles.
Hashtag knife bubbles.
Or
Yeah.
tactical bubbles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Tactical
bubbles.
knife bubbles.
Yeah.
We'll do them both and see which one takes off.
There you go.
So yeah, as we're talking about Instagram here, and Dennis just mentioned, we got this one on loan from Everyday Caleb. Thank you very much for lending this out to us for this video.
We really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
it is greatly appreciated for sure.
Yeah, this thing's pretty badass.
It is a fun toy.
Yeah.
It chops nicely.
Yeah. And as we mentioned about thickness, that guy is thick.
I love that they give you jimping on the back of a cleaver. What are you going to do with that?
Tried a little feather sticking. You could get a little bit of a feather stick going on, but it's not
Awkward.
nice.
One thing-
It's like feather sticking with my thick Bravo.
One thing I forgot to do was I actually wanted to try using this as a draw knife just because of how massive this thing is. But
I'm sure it
I
would work
imagine
good.
Yeah.
feather sticking can get your wrist pretty tired pretty quick, but that's not what this was meant to do.
I want to slice a tomato with this before we give it back to Caleb. Just out of curiosity.
Oh, we can do it.
Yeah, we can get a tomato or two and slice it up. And
That's
see
what I'm saying.
Yeah. $10.95.
$10.95.
Yes. Yeah, chop's really awesome.
55 to 57 Rockwell.
Is that what
That was-
SE's doing on the cleavers? Okay.
I guess
According
that
to
makes
the
sense.
internet. And I was on Etsy's website, so.
And expat. Did you go into any of what the expat stuff was?
So, expat, I actually looked up, not prepared because I'm an asshole.
Way to go.
I know. I know. So, expat
Just gonna have a drink over here.
is actually a person. Like, beyond just being an expatriate, where, you know, it's a person that lives outside of their, like, home nation.
Yep.
Expat is actually a specific guy that's been working with Essie for about the last 15 years or so,
Oh, okay.
as far as I understand.
And there's a series of expat knives. It's not just the cleaver.
That's
They
exactly it.
do a run of expat stuff.
This
being obviously the most badass of the
Damn right it is.
series, yeah.
But yeah, evidently he was like a trainer, adventurer, world traveler, kind of a combination of all
Man
those.
of mystery.
Yeah, like he sounds like he's like, I don't know, he's like ex-mercenary, ex-military that's
Yeah.
been moving around and
James
Um,
Bond.
I was just
yeah,
gonna
like,
say, he's James Bonding
he
it up.
kind of has that kind of like man of mystique. That he might just literally be some guy that like climbs Everest and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
couldn't tell you that, but seems pretty interesting and
Yeah.
has interesting taste.
Indeed
That's
he
for
does.
sure.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think it's an accident that it came out right now in what we've got going on as far as a trend, and whether it's been in design for a while and they decided to take it out of prototype and put it into production, but they picked a good time to do it because cleaver-shaped blades are the hottest thing on the market right now.
Out
Yeah.
there.
It's unbelievable. On every company under the sun is coming out with some sort of cleaver of their own, right?
Yeah.
So
And aside from doing like the big giant wood processing sorts of cleavers, other companies are getting into hybrid sorts of skinning cleavers.
Yeah. Some people would call that an ulu.
it's not a cleaver. It's not a
It's
cleaver.
not a
Hybrid.
cleaver,
Some people.
but it is an aesthetic cleaver.
specifically
name.
Yep.
on their title, they call it a cleaver. And I have issues with the cleaviness of this item.
I stand by it.
It's just had the handle mashed into the blade, though. It still has that
ratio.
It still has a snubby enough point to it, but it is very exaggerated with the front curve.
Look at the definition to cleave. Something.
Yes.
It's pretty limited for sure, but this was really designed more as a skinner, right?
For sure.
Yeah,
But I could chop a squirrel apart with this, no problem.
Oh yeah.
you could. But, yeah, like I said,
As far as cleaving aspect goes, it definitely does not cleave as efficiently as other stuff out there.
That is in part due to this huge hole which was put there so that you could use it as
For a skinning knife.
But as far as choking back on it and coming down, you really do have to put a bit of extra force.
Of course. You don't have to check all the boxes to fall into the right category.
No, and you can check one box. You can put the name on the title of this and then tell people.
It's got the right ratio to it.
But if Benchmade
got
had
the
put
size.
a stuck-up Ulu on the thing, we would not be having a conversation about this knife right now.
I was going to bring it anyways.
Well, yeah, I understand that it and people ask about, hey, that's a cool-looking cleaver when they see it and things like that. But I'm just saying that it's such a stretch.
Oh, yeah.
It's definitely a hybrid.
It is, I would say it's a cleaver shape. It's not necessarily a cleaver in use.
And I think we'll touch on that concept again in a few minutes.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
could you do this with it? Sure. Is that its main purpose? No.
No.
But you put it on the wall and you don't have anything around it where you can actually see its aspect ratio, like, you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, get it without any reference to size.
Exactly.
You
Get
saw
it-
it.
and if
Thought
you
it
just
was a lot
saw it
bigger.
as it was, it might look like a cleaver. You know what I mean?
I wonder how this would work if this ratio, this length, was the same as that length. I'd
Yeah.
like to see a Benchmade Nistaka cleaver that scale.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be
So I will say it does check off the bubble blower.
That too.
Yeah,
See, I don't know. You have these chamfered edges. Are you going to be able to get a bubble to come off of that?
We're going to find out.
Sure you can. No doubt about it. You can get big ones. You blow with the winds. Come on.
It's been a while since I played with the bubble blower. Sorry, guys.
It's
It's
Sorry.
the worst
Yeah.
time of the year, I think, right now to get a bubble blower, but I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I have a different list of priorities when it comes to what makes a cleaver a cleaver.
Clearly, the bubble blower is more important.
Whatever. It's awesome.
It's a nice
Oh,
job.
yeah, it's still awesome. It's just interesting to see it included, you know?
I can't wait to get a sheet that I can actually carry this thing with.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of a silly thing that they did.
And as we were kind of mentioning that's kind of our dislike with the SE one as well, is they are just little slip-on edge guards.
Yeah.
They're pack knives. They're nothing to wear on the hip and carry.
Nothing on a belt carry.
Yep.
This guy probably would be slightly uncomfortable, but the badass factor of wearing the cleaver on your hip would far make up
It's more than a
for-
pound and a half of steel.
Yeah. And we were dabbling on the comparisons with it and the Trailmaster.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that because Paul and I both own Trailmaster. I very extensively use mine. And honestly, for a 10-inch blade, I put it on par with chopping with the Trailmaster. Myself, Nigel had some varying results on when he was using it compared to the Cleaver.
Yeah, it kind of felt like you got a little bit more oomph with the Trailmaster because you got the extra length and could get the leverage aspect. But the actual results of what wood was flying, they were definitely very
Pretty much
close.
even, right?
Yeah, all the way through.
I think what you make up for with like velocity by getting that tip moving, you make up for with weight in this guy, and there's that
just the
trade-off.
sheer
of-
mass.
Yeah,
Well, and I was noticing, and I'm not afraid to do it, is like choke it back.
That's how I was
into
using it
a
too.
back grip to get that extra extension for some extra power on your chop, some extra swing, right? And honestly, all I gotta say is like if you like the style of it compared to a Bowie shape or something like that, if it really speaks to you, as far as a tool goes, this thing's an awesome tool.
100%. As far as like the cool factor, I mean, it's got it in spades.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Having a belt carry would just give it a 10 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody try batoning with it?
None of us have. Caleb has claimed it's very efficient, works very good for that.
Yeah, the
Very
only thing that he had as a caveat to that was that it's a fairly short blade.
That was
So-
why I was asking.
Yeah, it's very functional as a
But you're working against logs that are maybe only like that wide, right?
I was chopping some logs that were probably like 5 or 6 inches in diameter, and I chopped specifically, but then I did bury it and kind of baton V-cuts into it as well.
Okay.
So it wasn't necessarily traditional batoning, but just to see how it bit down and how it buried, and it was pretty impressive on that note. Like it was, yeah.
Getting
So
into your wood too, where you're not in a knot or something like that. If you're burying that much metal into a log, it might still just split on its own from that. You know what I mean? Like it might just be a matter of doing that and then wedging off.
And part of that comes down to how thick it is all the way down. It has no hollow, it has no taper. It is a solid chunk all the way down to this grind here, and then it tapers down to your edge, right?
That's it, right?
So it's got a lot of weight and a lot of
Splitting wedge.
Yeah, when it comes to that. Compared to a flat ground trailmaster.
Yeah.
Is what we were making one of our big comparisons with, because that is one of my other major chopping tools that's not an axe or is not a hatchet or a 5/16 of an inch thick
That's it.
kukri.
It's a much more like gradual taper to the spine and something like that, and you're gonna bury it. Whereas this is gonna hit that flat edge, and it's gonna want to pop. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
This is just thick
Splitting
enough
ball
where
versus
I think you can do
axe.
that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not splitting ball, obviously, but
we will also be playing with very shortly, and unfortunately we didn't get it in time, but Tops has also come out with a bush cleaver called the El Chapo, and really looking forward to playing with it. I was hoping we could play with it on this episode, and unfortunately Canada Customs and Canada and all good times, yeah.
I saw that on video or in a photo previously, and it seems like the one complaint I had about that has been removed. So I'm really curious to see when we
Which
get it.
was
It has a really weird sharpening choil at the spine.
right.
In some of its previous photography and stuff like that.
Conceptions of the knife.
Exactly. But I was recently on the Topps website, and it didn't seem to have that anymore. And I think
Interesting.
it was the right choice because
Yeah.
it was just a chunk of steel that was the same thickness as the spine back here, where you're trying to baton through
See,
things.
but
and
you
stuff
don't
like
need that with the cleaver.
No.
Like the
No.
whole point is that the edge is so far forward of your knuckles. There's no point
Exactly.
in having a blunt. Yeah.
That was
So-
part of the argument, right?
So also somewhere along the way, we might throw up just a quick video on the channel of a couple minutes and a comparison, kind of couple minutes of the guys talking, and we'll do a short video on our comparisons, afterthoughts of once we get to play with the Tops compared to the X.
Compared to this, yeah.
But we might just do that further down the road as a small video add-on thing, just to
Yeah.
go with this video because we didn't get it in time. But I am curious about it. But yeah. Field cleavers, bush cleavers. There's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah.
If you like the style, I think they're a fun little tool to play with.
They
for
are
sure.
definitely a fun toy to play with. That's for sure.
You won't make me put down my Bowie knife because I'm a little too cowboy for
They're
that.
Bowies, man. How do you
Yeah.
go wrong?
Yeah, but if you like the cleaver shape and you like the trends, there's some awesome ones out there.
Yeah, check them out and give them a try for sure.
That's it.
So
Now that we've kind of finished talking about the large side of things and the bush cleavers and stuff like that, let's get into the small side of things.
the trend has continued into the everyday world of pocket knives
Silliness.
and EDC.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I consider this all to be Cleaver's style, if not necessarily in function, for the obvious reason that, hey, this is already broken in the middle.
Yeah.
So,
We've established that's a thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Still cool. Still pretty neat. Very popular. From custom makers, I think most major manufacturers are making their own version of a folding cleaver these days.
Everyone
Yeah.
has gotten into cleavers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and variations of cleavers and snub-nosed and things like that. Spyderco Rock is what we've got here. So, and Spyderco has done very well with the Rock. The cleaver blade is extremely popular.
Yeah, it was one of the first production sorts of cleavers that was most noticeable out there.
Yeah.
It definitely been a trend for a while of like more custom high-end sorts of ones were being made, but kind of off the top of my head, I think this was one of the first major production ones.
Like if you're talking about the big three, Kershaw, Bench, and Spyderco, these
Yes.
guys kind of beat them to
Yeah.
the punch.
One of the kind of minor complaints is that almost wants to be a finger choil, and it's not
Yep.
quite. You can kind of get your finger in there, but it's kind of sketchy at the same time.
And it's a Spyderco, so it's like there should be a finger choil there if you're going to almost put one there.
Well,
That's
I mean,
not how I got this Band-Aid, by the
I was
way.
going to say, it's a Spyderco, so you know it's sharp. So, help us out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do like that they have that large gap between the handle where you would hold it if you were going to do any kind of chopping, though.
A finger trail might actually like take away from its cleaver shape too. You know what I mean? Like this
Maybe
looks
a
like
little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
That-
the extension of it. And, yeah.
I may be not recalling this one properly, but Gerber actually has a new sort of squared cleavery looking
You
model.
bet they do.
And that
Yeah.
one has a choil, doesn't it? At least I think it does.
I don't think so, actually. I think you're wrong on that, but
Okay,
we'll
fair
get
enough.
a picture up and we'll show off even Gerber's got a cleaver.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's, and everyone, and that leads into some of the other companies that we have as well.
Such as CRKT and their Rip Snort. That's the model name on that guy.
I don't understand, but they're combining two different fads right now. Your flippers and your cleavers.
the one thing that I will say about this knife is I really like the name.
I don't get it.
The Rip Snort.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all, but it's a fantastic name for something.
It's a fun name for sure. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh.
goofy. Absolutely goofy.
Fits. That whole thing is kind of goofy.
Oh, that's such a weird knife. And it's kind of weird, and Dennis doesn't like it, but it is weird that to have a cleaver with a flipper this large.
It protrudes down so far.
Any flipper with a flipper that large is too large.
Yeah, it is a very exaggerated flipper on that guy for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Easy to pop open,
Yeah,
which might be part of it, you know. This is not running on bearings, is it? Or is it
I don't
bronze phosphor?
think
I
so.
don't
I
think
actually.
so.
No.
It's Teflon on one side and phosphor bronze on the other.
Okay.
Yeah, because if CRKT uses ball bearings, it's the IKBS, and
Right.
it always has that logo on the
Right,
blade.
right, yeah.
Pretty sure that's phosphor bronze. It's definitely Teflon on one side.
So maybe you need some extra oomph to get it open. That's why I added a big flipper on it.
Yeah, potentially. Also very thick in the pocket.
Yeah.
It takes up room compared to the Spyderco.
Yeah, like it's significant.
This takes up room this way. This one takes up room.
It might be the same thing as Caleb's. Yeah.
Damn
Just
close.
overall, even with handle, it's got to be close. But yeah, so cool design on the blade shape and capitalizing, but I think CRKT executed the way that CRKT likes to execute.
Mhm.
It might
Close,
work
but
for
not
me.
quite there?
It might not work for me personally. So
But I have seen people be very enthusiastic about this, like the style.
also one of
Yes.
the hottest CRKTs that I see selling
Yep,
right
that's
now
it.
and very popular is the Rip Snorts. Yeah, for sure.
And then just to kind of touch off of what the production sorts of sides were, and how we kind of mentioned that it did start off in the pocket realm as more of the custom maker stuff. You start getting into some fancier guys. Ferrum Forge Buccaneer, the mass drop version.
Yeah, this was a Mass Drop exclusive. This is like the third or the fourth.
Would that be like considered a mid tech?
No,
No.
it's still a high-end production because it's coming from Ferrum Forge, which is made by Wee Knives. So
Okay.
ultimately, this knife is made by the Wee Knife Company, which again is showing people that Chinese made doesn't matter. They're
Mhm.
coming
They
out
make
with
it quality
some
things.
smoking
Yeah, they
quality.
First time I Spidey flipped that, and it's actually pretty cool.
Now again,
Properly sized flipper.
a proper size
Mhm.
flipper,
And the finger twirl.
it doesn't annoy me.
And a bubble blower. It's an
wow.
awkwardly shaped
Oh.
bubble.
That's what it's missing. That's one of them.
Oh.
The Rip Snort CRKT.
Oh, yeah, it's back here.
That doesn't count. That doesn't
I know,
count.
I know.
The Gerber
Further
doesn't have a
testing
hole
will
in
be
it.
needed on lanyard bubbles, but I doubt it.
And that will be a different hashtag from the tactical bubbles, because I think tactical is from the blade. That's from the handle. It's something else.
The hand button. No.
Yeah.
I was gonna get dirty with it. and I
Yeah,
was
let's not
Probably
go
for the
there.
best.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah, for sure.
PG-14 maybe.
So yes, it does have that qualification as well.
Mhm.
But I will say, as far as the flared tip, comparing traditional cleaver blade shape compared to what we were working with here, again, we're stretching the limits
It
of
is.
what makes a cleaver a cleaver.
Yeah, highly exaggerated.
You can even see major differences between the, I don't know, that little drop-off point on both blades. This is quite steep. That's a little bit more of a... And really, as far as a pocket knife, this might be a bit more
It's
functional.
more usable as a pocket knife because of it.
Yeah.
The point on the tip, yeah,
Yeah.
you bet.
And then just going to toss this guy up as kind of an in-between for that
Yeah.
front angle.
Yeah.
So my big question, and I've kind of said it even before we started recording, is where does a cleaver stop and a Warncliffe start?
Yeah.
Or a sheep's foot? Or because this could easily be called a sheep's foot. Look at the CRK or the Spyderco Rescue knife. It's very much a
Yeah.
sheep's foot.
I,
Yeah.
not a cleaver
Yeah.
by any stretch.
Yeah.
I think part of it is how square that corner is as well. This
Yeah.
one's kind of on the edge as well, but a lot of times with like the Warrencliffs and stuff like that, it's a
rounded,
lot more
yeah.
rounded.
Now, what if you had a
but
rounded
no,
corner?
But not all the time.
But CRKT, or not, I always want to say CRKT today, but it's actually Kershaw's Leak is a Warrencliff, and that's a through and through Warrencliff. That's like the purest version of a Warrencliff would
Yeah.
be.
Or like this guy's considered a Warrencliff as well,
I
and
would
it's
very
still
much put it into
Yeah,
a
a
100%.
fairly angular
Yeah.
corner,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
not.
I couldn't.
Like, I think there's going to be a degree from like 90 to whatever that starts
Maybe.
to fade.
But what about like a
How
corner
come
radius?
it?
Because something like this, to me, this is still a cleaver more than a Warrencliff.
But once you started to radius that out, that's getting into sheep's butt.
Yeah,
Once again, getting
yeah.
away from the square aspect of it.
And then you just
Once
throw
you-
in the works, and I don't actually have mine on me. It's upstairs right
It's
now. But
Pretty close.
where does a reverse tanto come in
Yeah.
too, right? Like
Closest we have.
Is one of the new rates.
that's close to a reverse tanto. Yeah.
Yeah.
The He Goes or the Raker. Yeah, I have an Osborne that everyone knows and loves.
Yeah.
So that's my big thing with, okay, we're going to call this a cleaver style blade, and that's great, right? But where's the line?
Well-
What's a cleaver? Your
Yep.
Ulu is a cleaver.
I think
It's-
it's literally like a knife by knife basis.
Yeah, and kind of how we've touched on already within this episode, we've kind of established that there's a couple check marks to fulfill, and if it can fulfill at least two of those, we would consider it a cleaver.
Well,
They won't let
Yeah.
me bring my Kershaw pub to this episode, by the way, guys.
no, it's not.
If you look at the blade shape, like, where does it start? Where does it
That's
end?
going to get into one of the check marks of the height versus the length.
I almost brought my pillar.
And the pub and the pillar, I don't think fit into that check mark.
It's close with the pillar, but
Yeah.
it's a bit too small. It's like a micro cleaver if you were going to
Yeah.
call it anything close. Let's bring up that other guy just to further blur the line.
Yeah, as
alright.
far as exaggerations and unique styling.
So,
So talking about a slicey, thin tip, like that's not something you want on a chopping cleaver. Talking about that weird angle,
This is a cartoon.
Yes.
yes, it's a style. It's a
caricature of
cleaver.
itself.
It's a cleaver style knife. I wouldn't call this a chopping cleaver.
if it was like the R-rated Acme store and Wile E. Coyote's like, all right, I'm done messing around.
He is dead this time.
Give me something that's going to get the job done. You'd walk out with.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've seen that knife in cartoons.
Yeah.
But again, the piercing tip for an EDC factor and the function behind it compared to a traditional
Yes.
cleaver or a sheep's foot style blade or something like that. It's got some practical applications. It's yeah.
a bit more of a piercy tip. Makes sense.
Before we get too far, we want to thank the two buddies of ours that lent us these
three.
knives.
This was
Right,
wasn't
that
a
one
buddy,
came from the shop,
technically
yeah.
not
Yeah,
a
yeah.
buddy, but
Yeah,
we
but-
are buddies of the store.
We'll thank you, everyone.
Forgot about this one too.
Yeah, for sure. So Jason Taylor on Instagram, Crazy Duramax. Thanks for lending us this custom.
Pretty great, man.
There's only 300 made. It's drop shut. It's pretty. The action on this thing, undeniably, regardless of style, construction on this knife.
Something obscene.
Something Obscene Knife Company.
Yes.
He waited a long time to get this sweet little gem.
They are fun. It's a very fun knife.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd want it.
Yeah. And to continue on with the thanks before we start
Yes.
getting distracted, Ben Vargas, thank you for lending this one out. No Instagram hashtag. He does not play the social media games like that, so we can't link him into that. Jimmy Hot Rod lent us this one again here tonight, and we borrowed this one from the Cutting Edge.
So, yeah.
Thank
thanks.
you all around.
Yeah.
Thanks to
Yes,
everyone.
100%.
Mhm.
And again, Caleb, for this thing, because
Yes.
it was super fun. Yeah.
That thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah. It's a monstrosity in all the right ways. But
Definitely.
So yeah, back to the cleavers, the everyday carry, the pocket cleaver.
It's a fashion statement through and through, really. For the folders.
Functional
Sweet.
pocket jewelry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well, and I've seen trends that have come and like stayed around, and like the karambit trend is still kind of here, but it's fading off a little bit. But it's kind of being overshadowed now by a cleaver trend.
Mhm.
Wise Man Company hasn't put a ring on any cleaver-shaped blades yet, but
Oh my god.
Could you imagine waving a cleaver with a ring on it?
That's why I was laughing.
I want to see a zip tie. I want to see a zip tie.
Oh.
No, I don't. It's the worst thing ever. Don't do it, guys.
Disgusting.
So, rad knives. checks off my bubble blower.
Yep. And once
Mass
again,
drop.
same with the essay, you get fancy bubbles.
You bet. Yeah.
Lightning
Fancy.
bubbles.
You could have Idaho Lightning Wars until you couldn't tell the difference between Idaho or Lightning Bolt because they kind of look the same. But and even the mass drop checks off that. So I mean, the Konasune, we can drill holes. We can
Yeah.
get the job done.
Well,
with
if we
that.
were going to play the game of the rip snort being able to go off of the handle, once I rip the paracord off of this, it's got multiple holes.
Oh, you
Yeah.
could get bubbles out of a
Like
tank.
a bubble flute.
Yep.
Anyway, it's checking off that Cleaver checklist here.
Mhm.
Yeah, this thing is S35.
Yep.
Pretty fantastic. S35
Yep.
for the mass drop as well.
Yes.
It's
Aluminum compared to titanium, I believe, with some differences.
I can't remember on the something obscene.
Nope. 6AL-4V titanium for the handle
Really?
material.
It's got
Yeah, this thing's so light.
it's got the
Wow.
ting of aluminum,
Like
but,
it feels like it should be a hell of a lot heavier. Just like looking at it.
yeah,
Mhm.
which leads me to believe that no skeletonizing. Wow,
Amazing.
that's actually pretty impressive.
Well,
Yeah,
look at the exterior milling they have. Like, this is actually concave on both those grinds, so
it's
Oh.
not just
it's not just flat.
chamfered or anything like that type of thing.
Pretty aggressive angles for the handle.
And pretty thin in the blade, like surprisingly thin toward
As far as
yeah,
cutting.
pretty quick.
Function again. Big in the pocket. You got to mention
Yeah.
that when
That-
it's closed.
Well,
that
I
is
think
the
that's
pocket.
a curse of
So-
all the cleavers. They're going to be wider than your average knife. Maybe not so bad on that guy. But-
it gets into griptilian size even
Mhm.
still with this
Yeah.
guy. This guy flares like nobody's
So
business.
much.
You might as well put a ZT like 456 or a 350 or a 909 in your pocket.
I can't
at that point,
quite-
right? Like it's
Close my my middle finger I can close. Nigel might be able to get a full fist over it, but I cannot.
and the Spyderco, as slim as it is when it's open, it compensates by being the biggest knife ever when it's
Almost.
Almost the biggest.
Close.
um,
This thing is
That's just bulky,
Just
but
silly,
at
I
least
love
this
it.
is consistently bulky all the way down. That's the only positive.
So
Yeah.
I guess if you like the style of the Cleavers, it's awesome. It doesn't do it for me personally. I do dig the Mass Drop one. If anything out of this batch that we were having, I would probably own the Mass Drop. The action
Yeah.
and the slim handle kind of reminds me of a 450 or an Osborne. It's pretty nice.
What are you talking about? This is such a crazy knife, though.
that's it. I tend to lean more towards the Warncliffe side of things rather than the Cleaver side of things. You know what I mean? I like that more gradual taper,
Mhm.
but some of these are really, really nice.
Yeah.
That they are.
I think I personally lean towards the Fix and the Bush Cleavers.
Yep.
I think they're more fun. I think they're more enjoyable to use.
Yeah.
The
More
everyday.
practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the everyday carry, I want something that has a little more function, a little more ease of carrying in the pocket than any cleaver I've really seen.
It depends on who you are and how many knives you carry in your pocket.
This is true. I mean,
I usually have 2 folding knives. If
Yeah.
that's the case, then I might have something like this and then something more functional.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's just the novelty of this is so different, and we haven't seen it done before historically. So sure, why not?
Mhm.
I think that's a really big part of it. That is such a nice action.
The plate is so
construction-wise, there's something obscene company. They did a smoking job. Yeah.
Bang on as far as
That's really nice,
centering.
yeah.
Like it's the mass drop one is just as nice.
The following of the contours is really nice in there.
Which we have to mention Wee Knives
Mhm.
being the one that distributed this.
Yes.
Did a pretty awesome job. So again, on the radar with Wee Knives because they're making some pretty awesome stuff right now. So, but I think, yeah, as far as Cleavers goes,
Yeah, it is a trend that is out there in the world. It's not going away anytime soon, I don't think. So I'm enjoying it myself.
Get out there and enjoy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think some are really awesome to check out. I think some of them are just like, oh, it's a swing and a miss. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
You're gonna get that with most fads, though.
it's fun that they're
Any
trying.
style.
It's fun that
Yeah.
they're
Well,
trying.
I mean-
yeah.
The fact that everybody's out there trying,
Mhm.
That's actually kind of exciting. You see engagement from all these different companies coming out with, I can get I look forward to the Benchmade version of this thing, or
I've
even the
been
Gerber version, I kind of like the shape of it.
pushing
not
Cold
ugly.
Steel
Yeah.
for a couple years to come out with a cleaver because if anything's going to make an indestructible cleaver,
And
a
I will
triad
say-
lock cleaver would be so cool.
And I will say that Cold Steel does have their kitchen line of stuff, and there is a cleaver in that. It is so disappointingly thin. It's like a veggie cleaver.
Yeah, I know. It's like 3 millimeters
It
thick,
is
isn't it?
not what you would expect from Cold Steel.
Yeah.
when they say cleaver. Like,
You well, when you think cold steel and cleaver, you picture this as a minimum.
yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
so I'd really like to see them step up their
Me
game and
too.
come out with just a big, crazy
Quarter-inch thick D2 steel blade monstrosity.
Well,
I don't even like honestly. Even if they did it in their machete series, I
Oh,
would
sure.
enjoy that.
Actually, yeah, that would be really
Something
cool.
to throw would be really
Yes.
fun. Yeah.
So, all right, guys.
It is a fun trend, but we'll leave it here for now and let you decide how you think about it. Like, subscribe, comment, follow us along on Instagram and all that jazz. Put your 2 cents in and what you think about the Cleaver fad. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
please do.
Nigel the Smith signing off.
I am who I am. I'm Dennis Vipers.
I am the Iron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
Catch you again next time.
We don't need bigger knife.